What's your full name at the moment?
It's I think what it is. Darnell, Rain, Dulciana, Brendan, Lascelles, Sinclair, Darnell, and unofficial Sasha, and then O'Brien, Dula, to Bracken, Dubioli, Della, Meads. So it's a triple barrel surname, 38 letters. Uh, 1959, born in Royal Victoria Hospital, Blackpool. I was given up for adoption at 8 days old, and then I lived with the mum and dad in Hunts Cross in Liverpool for 10 years, which was obviously wonderful. I never wanted for anything. They were wonderful people.
Do you have any brothers or sisters?
Yeah, I have a sister, Alice, and she's adopted as well. She was adopted at a year old because she had a rough start because the person, her mother, was jacked up with somebody and said, unless you get rid of her, I won't marry you. So they chucked Alice out at a year old. Her name was actually Patricia, but then it became Alice. But they chucked her out at a year old, and all the mum knew was she doesn't like gravy, and she had a little dolly, and that was it. And she sobbed off night after night sometimes. I didn't know this, but her mum's always told me about it.
And you got on with her?
Yeah, oh yes. She always sort of interpreted for me, because even then her mind was strange. I mean, I have my own words for things, my own sort of language and own way of thinking, which of course is still the same. But I was quite slow in speaking. When you say that's a common fault when you have high functioning autism, which I didn't know till it was diagnosed in 2009. No, it's not that right. 2011 it was diagnosed. That's right.
So how was school?
The infant school I liked because I liked, well, colours in the school were lovely and I loved the buildings and all the bits about it. But in the juniors I didn't get on so well. Unfortunately, I was more interested in watching the colours changing round the classroom than really learning. And it was a bit, and I was starting to get frightened of things. Frightened of. Once we had to write about different oranges or something like that on a frieze around the room, and I remember being frightened of it, and that was the first time the fear started to appear, and so probably the depression starting to wind up then. I've got 7 first names, normal, then I've got 1 unofficial name, then I've got 3 surnames. Of course it's a 7, a 1 and a 3, it's all odd numbers, and it's 3. The first one, the second one, the third, it's all in 3s, 5s and 7s, so which pleases me. I know it's silly, but I don't like things in even numbers, they have to be odd numbers.
Would you say you had a happy childhood?
Yeah, I was happy at home, but the demon depression was already floating around, As I said, depression's like a devil in a big fast car. It picks you up and takes you far away. It really does sometimes. Sometimes I go a long way away from normality with it. I wouldn't really wish it on anyone. It's horrible sometimes.
What about high school?
As a secondary school, do you mean?
Yeah.
The first 2 years were were very nice because I enjoyed, apart from the one thing, and the building I was in, enjoyed immensely. But then, so when I came to the 3rd year again, the depression started to appear, and I didn't work very well in the 3rd and 4th year because the depression was. Well, maybe I blame it on the depression, but I wasn't interested. The mind was up the creek, and I didn't do very well. I got behind. I was in sort of remedial class and things like that. But the music I was hell bent on doing, that never changed. I mean, I was doing that all the time, but a lot of the other bit was awful depressed. But in fact, the 4th year was depressed, but then it came to the bit, the summer holidays in 1974, as was mentioned before, and then suddenly the depression was off, and suddenly you got this absolute, it's just sort of like being in ecstasy, it's like it was a reward for all the depression you've had in the year. Absolutely amazing. The contentment, sitting there absolutely content for day after day after day, and something I don't get. Just beautiful. And I used to go to Wheel Park in the evening with the dogs, and it was, I don't know if you know, in 1974 it was a cloudy summer. But in the evening, virtually every evening, the sun would come out, and you get this clear sun drifting across the open fields. Just amazing. I mean, I love cloudy summers. That's what I like. And 74 was just that. Everybody was saying it was terrible, but that's why it was so good for me. And then I got a place at Trinity College, London, and London College of Music. So I went to Trinity in 78 to 81.
How was that?
Okay, but I think I had a nervous breakdown in the middle of it, and that was nothing to do with the college. It was this mine on one of its many meltdowns. And then I think I lost interest in it, actually. I was more interested in going up and down Oxford Street and going to Paddington to see the trains. I think I grew away from it. I didn't grow away from music, but I grew away from the college, I think. And that was okay, but of course 1980 is the major one because of the colours in that year. There's another year that's a pivotal year.
Can you explain more about that?
Where do I start with it? I mean, I've got the 1980 diary there, but that won't really tell you anything. But just from one end to the other was special. I mean, even now I measure everything by that now. I mean, I refer to it all the time. I was in Whalley Hospital and a voluntary patient for 4 weeks, from May the May the 20th for 4 weeks. That was, what was it? Yeah, Ian Curtis committed suicide 2 days before that. That was the 18th, and I was in from the 20th.
The joint division?
Yeah, the Sunday, and I was in the hospital on the Tuesday. So I think it's ironic that he's going through agony and there's somebody else taking their own life as well.
How was the hospital experience?
Amazing. I don't know what to say about it. I quote it and think about it, and absolutely fantastic actually. I don't know how I did it. Nobody knew how I did it. How you could get from something that's supposed to be negative to get absolute positive joy out of it. Okay, our mind was noisy and I did whine and whinge in the hospital a lot. I said, well, you know, I need to talk and all this. They kept saying, no, you don't need to talk about it and all that. But the actual hospital was amazing. It was in a little building called Woodside Villa. It's a 1930s red brick building, which is one of my favourite types of building. I felt trapped in the mind. It was nothing to do with being in hospital. It was a mind that was wrong. You know, I wasn't, not people would say, oh, I want to get out of the hospital. I didn't want to get out of the hospital. I wanted to get out that noise in the head, because it was screaming at times.
How were the doctors?
Oh, very good, but they didn't really have much idea. Well, Dr. Cronin was a nice psychiatrist, a very nice man, but the understanding of mental illness in 1980 was fairly crude at the time. I mean, now when you see how clued up people are now with all the bits on Channel 5 and ITV about mental illness and things, I mean, everybody out, it's now available for everyone. At that time, it was sort of, if you didn't talk about it, you know, if you're ill, you know, or you know, you're certified nutcase, and that was it. It wasn't like that at all. Nothing like that. My mum was frightened it was going to be, because her mother was committed to hospital in 1950, and that was when they locked the doors behind them, and she only went to see her once. She couldn't go again. It was so bad. I don't know what was wrong with her. I think it was just one of the ordinary mental illnesses now, but at that time, once you were in that was it. She died. She never got out. She died there, and that left a terrible mark on the mother. She couldn't really talk about it. And that was why she was so frightened when I was going into hospital. It was going to be the same. Of course, it was nothing like that when he got there. It was coffee every 3 hours or so. It was actually quite a social, and Mum would come up and down 3 times a day and bring yogurts in for me, and that was amazing. It was an important experience in her life. You know, wouldn't have wanted to be without it. I've never been in hospital since, because you can't get in now. But the bit that when I went into hospital the Tuesday was when I sat down and I had macaroni cheese, the pudding one, which I never eat at all, but I ate it just because it was there, and I just ate it and then sat down and cried, and the sound, that horrible sound, I said, what is that funny sound? I've never heard it before. That is devastating to think. I mean, nobody was that bothered, but I remember it so clearly, and when anybody sobs on television, I think of it now.
And that was you crying?
Yeah. I mean, it felt as though it was an out-of-body experience, as though the sound was somewhere else. I don't know what it was. It wasn't a normal cry. I've never heard it before. Devastating, really. Yeah.
You always have the sadness in you as
Yes.
part of you.
Yes, what I'd say is a sentence to life in sadness is what I refer to life as now. Because that's really what it is. I mean, sometimes it's nice, sometimes the mind chokes, and sometimes I get so ill with it sometimes. I mean, today, before you came in, I was sort of pacing around out there, really feeling like nothing on earth. Really frightened, because I get distortion in the thinking as well. And that, of course, Mum never knew what I meant by that. It's somehow how you perceive things isn't right. The colours are wrong.
And at that point you don't feel any music?
No, because all you're doing is hanging in there, trying to hang on, because you know your mind's streaming, you know, it's boiling again. Horrendous, and it really does, it literally boils.
You said in 1983 you moved
To Leavenheath.
to
Yeah. I do miss that. I was missing that badly yesterday again. I don't know. I don't know what it is. I love where I'm living, but I do miss Leavenheath. Sometimes that makes me ill. That and the car and Leavenheath. These two are the two that can knock me over the edge at times. It really hurts sometimes. It really you feel it's like my mum said it when their dad died. She said it was like walking on the edge of a cliff. Well, that's what I feel sometimes with this age. It feels as though your heart's being torn out of you. Sometimes I really wish I could take some of this mind out and replace it, because it would need replacing. It really does. I mean, it needs re-engineering. That's at the end of the day. It's what's wrong with it.
You said you had jobs working as a labourer?
Yes, in late 85 to late 86. That was amazing fun. That was at the Bayview District Council. It was the sort of thing for the jobs, the government to massage the figures, but at the end of the day I had a lot of fun with it. And the people I was with, I still know a lot of them now, and that was great fun, that was.
It didn't last long?
A year, it was only a year. So I always ever seem to be doing is bumbling along, going from one crisis to another. That's what I feel all I ever do, really. I've never had any success in anything. I feel life's been just one non-stop failure. Natural born failure is what I call myself. I just wish I could do something with her life and not be such a disappointment to everyone. I've been a disappointment to most people, and most of all myself. Just came into her mind, apart from John O'Brien there, it just came into her mind, it was right, I knew I had to have it.
So who was John O'Brien?
Someday I saw that Capella that used to pack and things, and I didn't have the confidence to say much to him. He was just such a lovely person, lovely looking person. And it's just so beautiful, and it's so haunting. I still think of him now, and it's so sad.
You've got a picture of him there?
Yes, there, yeah. I'll never see him again. That was like that last time I saw him was 1990. That'll never come again.
Did you lose contact with him? Or?
Yes, I didn't really know him very much. I just knew him to see, and just the tone he produced was just so special. I don't know. There's very few people like that. Just a lovely, lovely person. His wife was quite nice as well. I think he moved away. I don't know where he went. Just again, it's like Mr. Rain and all these other things. They have this special tone that only I seem to be able to see. It's not anything as mundane as going out with them or anything. It's a living tone. It's like a presence in the air. It shimmers in the air. It's an energy source. And the name sometimes is vibrant. You know, the vein. You can often see the name rippling in the sun, and hear those lovely sounds. You know. So sort of crying for the last time. Sad, these things. don't know what it is. I'm the only team to have this. Nobody else seems to. Nobody else has any idea what I mean. Though. And I just wish I could have made more of life and done something worth remembering instead of just being a total waste.
Is that how you feel?
Yeah, I feel I've done nothing. I feel I've been a disappointment to most people, but most of all myself. That's why I always say that now.
Is that through friends or career or?
I don't know. It's just the mind isn't right, and I've never had any real luck in anything. I don't know. I seem to be born unlucky. Never had anything good. Nothing good ever happens to me. Or if anything does good, something does happen that's nice, like the HST thing there. What happens? And they get your name 2 days done. About 3 weeks down the line, you're made redundant. So I can never actually have the things. If I have anything, the trap door will open and the noose will be round the neck before I know it, and I'm back in the hell. And I never get away from disappointment. I just wish somehow I could break from that and make some success with what I do. I feel I have so much to offer, and I can't get the connections to do anything with it.